Today's Bellwork is going to go over how to multiply and divide with decimals. This first row, this dot in between these two things right here, this means multiply. So I'm going to set up, or first I could look and see what types of numbers I have. I have a negative number times a negative number. Some people might like this face to help them identify if the answer is going to be positive or negative. So 3.3 was negative. 5.4 was negative. That means my answer has to be positive. So when you're working with multiple choice, this is going to help you eliminate some answer choices. So now what I'm going to do is multiply. And I'm going to put 5.4 on top just to make it easier for multiplying on the bottom row, because the number would stay a 3. Also remember there's 2 digits behind the decimal. So when I get finished, I'm going to put 2 digits behind the decimal. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 1 more is 16. Now I'm going to put in a placeholder 0, and then I'm multiplying by 3 again, so my number should stay the same, 2, 6, 1. Now I'll add this up. And remember, I need to have 2 digits behind the decimal, so 1, 2. Then my final answer, I would say, is 17.82. And we also looked up here at the top. We said our answer was going to be positive. So you can put the positive sign if you want or leave it off. Either one is fine. Scooting over to the right. When two numbers are scooted together like this with nothing in between, that also means multiply. Okay, my 5 is a negative number. My 8.23 is a positive number. So if I were to use that face again as my helper, the 5 was negative, so that's used up. The 8.23 was positive, that's used up. So my answer has to be negative when I finish. I'm going to put my question, 8.23 times 5. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 2 plus 1 is 11. 5 times 8 plus 1 is 41. Now this question, when I look at it, there are 2 digits behind the decimal. So I need to come down here, 1, 2, and then stop. I'm going to say my answer is 41.15, but I need to go back and look up here. We said the answer was supposed to be a negative, so I do have to put the negative sign with it, otherwise it is not correct. Moving down to the bottom row, 24 divided by negative 3.2. Again, I look at it the same way. This first number is positive, divided by a negative. I can use that face. The positive number is being taken up. Negative 3.2 is taken up. So that tells me that when I finish, my answer will be negative for this. So the first number goes inside the box, 24. 3.2 goes outside the box, but we don't want a decimal there, so I'm going to move this decimal one time. 24 doesn't have a decimal, so I need to put one, then add a 0, and move the decimal. I'm going to stick my decimal up in my answer right now, just so I have it there. 32 into 24 doesn't work, so I'm going to have to try to go all the way into 240. It's close to 30. I'm going to just test out a 7. 7 times 2 is 14, and 7 times 3 is 21, plus that is 22. Okay, that's pretty close, so 7 looks like it's going to be the best number. I'm going to subtract 224. When I subtract, I have to borrow. And now I can do 10 minus 4 is 6, and 3 minus 2 is 1. I have 16. I need to add a 0 and then bring it down. 160. I think this is going to be 5. So just let me test that out. 32 times 5. 5 times 2 is 10, 15, 16. Okay, that worked out. So 5 is going to be my number. It was a perfect 160 with no remainder. So remember, I said my answer was going to be negative. I'm going to have to put a negative sign in there. Then I can box that as my answer. So this question, I have a negative number divided by a negative number. If I draw the face, I can scratch out both negative signs because they're being used up for the problem. That means my answer will be positive when I finish. Okay, first number goes inside the box. 0.125. 0.5 goes on the outside, and again we want to move those decimals 1 time each. I can put my decimal up in my answer. 5 does not go into 0 and 5 does not go into 1, so I'm going to show that by putting a 0 in my answer. If you want to subtract out 0, you can. Then I need to bring down my 2. 5 can divide with 12 2 times. That's 10. Subtract, you get 2. Carry down your next digit of 5. And then 5 divides with 25 5 times. It's a perfect match. I have 0 left over. I'm looking back at my face symbol I drew. My answer was going to be positive. So I can just box this now and say my answer is 0.25.